is, it's not, oh, God's doing this to teach this lesson, and he's doing that, and this and that. I think that we're living in my personal opinion, this is a fractal holographic universe. We're in a matrix, I believe. The matrix is imbued with divine light, divine photons, and energetically, we're all imbued with this divine nature, but also there's this yin and this yang, and there's also something in this universe called entropy. And you learned about this in physics, and entropy is when things move from an ordered state to a disordered state. Second law of thermodynamics, right? And so everything, we found that entropy is even in your body, because you are born and then you grow up and then you live and then your body begins to decay and then you begin to die. Cells don't replicate the proper way. DNA doesn't replicate properly. Your telomeres run out of buffer material and then you pass away. That's entropy. Entropy is in everything. It's in structures. If you have build a structure and you don't take care of that structure, you come back in 50, 100 years, that structure is going to be falling apart. If you don't cut your grass, it's going to get weeds in it. That's all entropy. And so in this program that we're living in, which is, I believe, it's one of these things where you turn it on and this mass consciousness is trying to extrapolate every dimension all the way down. We know that, we don't know, it's a theory, but that there's 11 dimensions. Also, scientists in 2022 just discovered that the brain perceives in 11. Now, they factually have been able to do this experiment over and over again, that the brain is actually perceiving in 11 dimensions, which is incredible because the theory of 11-dimensional universe is matching now what the brain is perceiving. And so all of a sudden, I believe that we're a fractal of the whole. The whole thing has been turned on, and now we're living through this experience in this avatar body, collecting information, sending it back to source. What is it like to live in the third dimension? And this thing is just on its own wavelength. It's moving and it's changing and evolving moment by moment. And so right now I can jump up from this microphone and run out of the room and there'll be an empty seat here with the microphone and I'll be gone. Or I can sit here and I can continue to talk. So each one of those decisions has a consequence. In the Kemetic principles, it's the principle of cause and effect. So every decision you make is going to have an actual consequence, whether it's a good consequence or a bad consequence. If I make a decision to run out of here, hop in my car and race down the street, I might crash into something tonight. That's a consequence based on the decision that I make. See, so just because things happen to people, the person, the kid decided to go to this particular location at this particular time. At the same time, these cops show up. These cops are now, they're agents of the Matrix. They're soulless avatars operating purely on Matrix programming code. From epigenetics all the way back to everything you can think about, the programming coming in from the media growing up, the programming coming in from their own parents growing up, and the outside sources, all that programming turn these people into soulless avatars. The police departments know they're soulless avatars because they only hire people with no souls. Woo! That is what the whole psychological battery exam is all about.
That's what it's about.
Looking for people that will take any order you give them, and they know they have no soul. They will kill a person, a kid, a child, and go home and kiss their baby and lay down. That's a soulless avatar. Operating purely on the Matrix program code. That's it. That's all they hire. They don't hire anything else. If you seem like you have any sense of empathy on that psychological battery exam, you're not going to get hired. If you look like you might not take an order, direct order, and execute a direct order, you won't get hired. So this poor kid happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, driving where he was going, and these soulless avatars, he ran into them, and that ended up being his fate. Now, due to my belief in reincarnation, I mean, that kid is already back in one form of energy or another in and it could be in any dimension, any time frame, because past, present, and future exist at once in higher dimensions. It could be in the future. He could be in the past. It could be a different gender by now. We don't even know. It could be a blade of grass. But the thing is, at that particular moment, his energy that was being held into his corporeal body was released and transmitted in somewhere else in the universe.
Okay. That's great. That makes a lot of sense. I'd like to pick up on your anthropic theme because encoded in every part of us in third density is chaos. The chaos seed is there. In my new book that I'm writing called the quantum talking about Earth. And what I find in chaos is it's a necessary component, because with each incarnation, it brings it back to the raw material for you with your new experience to actually carve out something brand new. In other words, that's what the steps of the root races are about, from the first all the way to the sixth, which we are the sixth root race at this point, transiting to the seventh. And so chaos has to come because it provides us the canvas upon which we as new beings come in to actually exercise what it is that we didn't do before. What can we do better to advance this particular programming called the avatar of God? And so as we take on the physical form, it has a beginning, quote unquote. It has a peak, and then it has a drop-off point, as you said, towards the end into entropy. That entropy, again, is a recycling, because we are always in movement. There is no backward movement. There's always a forward movement and a forward momentum in the consciousness of humanity. So yes, I see exactly what you're talking about. And just to kind of wrap this up, so that we don't want to hold you any for I'm not taking over your spot, Brother Rich, but I just wanted to kind of encapsulate this, that what you're speaking about as far as circumstances that happen, you happen to be in that space in that time. You'll have to also look at your thought process. What was your thought process like? What were the women's thought processes like? Because your thought, as we teach in our universe, that thought has as a mechanism a compass that guides you to where the actual programming in the thought is due for expression. So if you have, say, for instance, a hostile feeling in your job, and you hate this person, and I wish I could just, co-cock them, just do something to them. What happens is that feeling builds up, and that thought guides you to the point where you're going to manifest that feeling. The thought feeds on that emotional signature. And so what happens? You say, well, I'm going to take a visit, a vacation. I'm going to get away from this fool, and I'm going to go ahead and go to Timbuktu someplace, and I'm going to go ahead and say, to hell with these people. I hate them still, but I'm going to go over here. But when you go over there, you say, Timbuktu, and you step off the curb and get hit by a truck. What you don't understand is that the particular energy that you now evoked for completion visited you. Because you did not have the way to displace that into a positive return. All you did was have that person as the target of your pain and of your suffering, and so that target, you became the target of the pain and suffering. So as I say to brothers and sisters, clock your thoughts every now and then. Do an inventory of your thinking process. Write down what it is that you feel someone did to you, or so forth. And you'll find out that the person that you think is persecuting you is actually you, because after you leave that person, it's your thought process that connects you to that moment. And so what happens to you? You're suffering for something that person really don't even give a damn. They're not even thinking about you. You're thinking about them and suffering because of what you feel they did to you. So you have to now monitor your thinking process. I tell my students to write down all the things that they feel have become challenges to them, to their sleep, to their peace of mind, to all of these things, and then actually examine that to see whether or not it's you that's putting all the power of that pain into that.
Excellent. Hey, Billy, I know you got to go real quick before you leave, my brother. This is a quote. This is actually a question. This is a quote you said on another show that I wanted to ask you about. You can answer this, then you could get out of here before Dr. Valentine goes in on it. You said there's nothing solid until consciousness interacts with an electromagnetic wave and it collapses it into a particle. What I want to talk to you about, so you gave an example. I think you gave an example of a home.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at my home. My home collapses back to a wave form, and it doesn't exist until I look back at it. What I want to ask you, Billy, I got to inject a little bit of humor in it. Nigga, does that apply to my son? If I'm not looking at my son, is he a wave? Like,
actually, yes.
He's a perception in your own mind.
Like, is my son a wave form, Billy? Come on,
Billy,
don't tell me.
He's a wave.
Yeah.
We found through quantum physics and quantum mechanics that all matter exists as waves first.
Even if they have a soul, even if the matter has a soul,
Before
Even if they have a soul.
before
Yeah,
they become a particle.
Yes, before they become a particle. It's all electromagnetic frequencies. Now, so it's called wave particle duality in physics, right? Wave particle duality. And in 2015, they took the very first image of a wave converting into a particle. They called it mid-conversion.
Yeah.
It's on physics.org.
Yes.
They discovered this. They saw the conversion process happening. They had done the double slit experiment many thousands of times and realized that when you're not looking, it's waves. When you are looking, it converts into particles. For those of you who want to go research the double slit experiment, you'll find out more about what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then they discovered a way to observe the conversion process from a wave into a particle. And they now know that everything in the entire universe exists in superposition of each other.
Yes.
So, and what that means is every potential probability exists before it actually happens and collapses into our reality. It exists as probabilities through waves. Waves of what? Waves of light. Light waves that the human being eye can pick up, because these waves are at different frequencies. The human eye only picks up 1% of the light spectrum, actually slightly less than 1%. We can't see gamma rays, we can't see X-rays, we can't see ultraviolet, infrared, and so forth and so on. But the lights, we mostly see red, blue, and green. RGB is what we mostly see. And from there, you can extrapolate, all the colors of the rainbow. But that these electromagnetic waves exist. But what's really interesting is that every time they do this test, they discover that conscious observation of a wave will then collapse it into the particle that it's supposed to be.
Right.
Which goes for every atom that exists in the entire universe. So that means you're made of atoms. I'm made of it. Your sun is made of atoms. He exists as waves of potential until a conscious observer, including himself, collapses it. Now, the collapse is so instantaneous, we can't even perceive it, but it is a wave particle duality. Research that and you'll find out that I'm giving actual science fact.
Indeed, and he's talking about the collapse. The speed is the speed of thought. And you have to understand that thought is the glue that coagulates and gives us, and that's the mind of God working through us. The mind of God collapsing and using the vision, because you remember your sight, sound, smell, and taste are not just incidentals. They are the base of the pyramid of life. The pineal is that eye that is above the pineal. Now, what you're looking at is fire, air, water, and earth, sight, sound, smell, and taste. Each one of these elements that you see, the four elements, are the word of God. That's the W-O-R-D, is the fire, air, water, and earth made flesh. What happens is when you are looking at something, these things are actually living principles of elements. They're conscious as themselves. When these four elements, which are the word of God, are now fixed into the avatar of God, they're not only conscious as themselves, because when they're conscious as themselves, fire doesn't know what water is, water don't know what earth is, and so forth. But when they become part of this coagulating mechanism that takes waves into particles, they become conscious of themselves. And what you are conscious of physically is based upon how the word made flesh processes consciousness in third density. So your fire, air, water, and earth, or the force, what they call the four elements, which is the four senses, there are no five senses. The fifth sense is touch, which is actually something that happens only when you have, it's not conscious of itself. What is conscious of themselves are fire, air, water, and earth. These are the four living principles, the word of God. And what you are collapsing into the physical flesh is the mechanism that the Creator gave you in order to be a creator in third density.
Indeed. All right. So let's continue. My
Yeah,
brother Billy.
Let's free our brother. Yes.
brother Billy had to go while he didn't know when he was gonna stop, but brother Billy had to get out of. He had to catch that flight, so we're gonna keep going. Dr. Valentine, let me ask you about this, my brother. I mean, first of all, I want to tell everybody, make sure y'all sign up to Dr. Valentine's workshop he got coming up. I mean, I'm totally excited about it, and the ideas you're gonna present to the people in terms of flat Earth and the way the universe is structured. I think that is beautiful. Tell the people how they can sign up for that again before we continue.
Well, what we would ask them to do is to go to our university's website. By the way, we're starting our new semester for the spring semester on March the 4th. So if you want to sign up, just go to www.uksnow.org. That's U as in United, K as in King, S as in Science, now.org. And on that same site, you can sign up into our mailing list by going to where it says contact. Click where it says contact and just fill out the form that will put you directly onto our mailing list, and then we'll send out information directly to you when we're going to have that particular webinar. The other thing too is that if you wish to sign up for our upcoming program, our upcoming semester, then you just click where it says registration, fill out the form, and in that last box, just put registering for MPSY, which is Metaphysical Psychology 1, the spring semester, 2023. And then our administrative assistant will be in contact with you. The other thing is that if you wish to get in contact with me directly so that we could deal with any of our services, you can call 800-847-1291. Again, 800-847-1291. And you know the other services that we have that we deal with against that type of attack.
Y'all know what we're talking about. Y'all know what we're talking
about. And then consciousness as well. I'm dealing with private consultations, health consultations, and the whole 9 yards. We have and if you also interested, I think I gave brother Rich the number to call for our ISM for homeschooling, because they're actually attacking our children in school. We trying to take their minds. So we've had this online institute for young people starting at age 6 or 7, depending on the child's aptitude at age 6. And we do have fantastic teachers. If you want your children to be taught at home and homeschooled the right way, with the right culture, with the right mentality, then check out ismhomeschool.org. ISM, that's Institute for Self-Mastery, ismhomeschool.org. And if you're interested again, just call 800-847-1291. Thank you, Brother Rich.
Indeed. I got we've been on here for 2 hours, so I just got a couple of two more questions before you get out of here, Doc.
Okay.
You've been on here a while. I want to appreciate Doc. Billy just had to skate. I tell y'all he had a flight to catch. So shout out to Billy for participating in tonight's discussion.
Indeed.
Absolute amazing discussion. I'm thankful to be a part of history tonight and be a part of this conversation. I want to continue this conversation, Doc. We're talking about viewing things from a quantum perspective.
Right.
And there's a lot of talk about grounding, and grounding is going to be, I feel as though, just like meditation became popular in the 90s and the 2000s, I feel as though grounding is going to become the new form of meditation in the next 20 years. What I want to ask you, Doc, is grounding, planting your feet in the dirt and reconnecting to Earth's healing energy. I want to ask you if that's powerful. Just how powerful is, because our skin is our largest organ, just how powerful is burying your whole body in dirt? And I think you said, did you bury your body? They buried you in dirt when you was young. So talk to me about, we're talking about grounding.
Yes.
How powerful is burying your whole body in dirt? That shit must be crazy powerful. If grounding is powerful, Doc, talk to me.
Yeah, it has to be the right grounding earth, though. You don't want polluted earth. You want the ripe and the rich, where, and you go down to the tropics, especially, and you want to bury yourself at the beach. That could be also a little bit harrowing, because when I was buried, I could feel either it was the living, the things that were in the ground, and they brought certain, I can remember them bringing dirt to the area where they had buried me. So I think they had some kind of consecrated earth that they put me in as well. But what happens, you have to remember that every element that they have discovered on the periodic table, as well as those that they have yet to discover, are in you, because you occupy the third density, and occupying third density means that everything in third density is already in you. Third density exists because you exist. And it is the preliminary, like they showed you that in the Bible, they talked about in the beginning, They talked about how all the different things were created in sequence, and then on the sixth day, they call it, that's when the man appeared, or the avatar appeared. Well, everything was prepared. You prepared the way yourself by casting the necessary engrams of thought into third density that would create the hologram and create the Merkaba, create all of what is necessary for you to exist in a specific playground for the mind, so that you could become that feedback mechanism for the One Most High.
I want to talk to you, Doc. The next question is about something that is important in this manifestation process. Is something we call divine alignment. And like I said, there's so much confusion in what we call this New Age movement. It's being led by a group of individuals who are, new to this information, and maybe they don't have it in their DNA. Divine alignment, and they may say divine, and when you're in divine alignment, you will feel comfortable. But what I find, Dr. Valentine, is that when I'm uncomfortable is when I make the breakthrough. So what I want to talk to me about being in divine alignment and being uncomfortable, because it seems like being uncomfortable gets you to that next stage that you want to get to. But if you're comfortable, you sort of just stay stagnant.
Yeah.
Being comfortable, you stay in one position. So it seems like being in divine alignment does not mean being comfortable. It often means being uncomfortable. So talk to me about divine alignment and being uncomfortable.
I just scratched myself. So don't worry about it, family. I'm good.
Yeah. Okay.
If you talk about divine alignment and this feeling that you have of, is because you have a feeling of lack, and mostly the reason for that happens when fear comes and takes precedent. Fear is the one that puts you into all places of inconsistency, of insecurities, of you not trusting your own mind, trusting your own way of deciding what you should do from A to B and so forth. So when you understand how fear works and what it does, you could see that the Alcoholics Anonymous, I use that. It says, what is it called? Fear is false evidence appearing real. And the false evidence appearing real is you believing that you don't have the ability and you don't have the capacity to overcome any challenge that comes your way, because you signed a contract to face certain challenges. You don't remember that you did, but when you came back into the flesh and you were baptized through the waters of your mother's womb, you were baptized back into, and you were consecrating the contract that you had when you first came through. And you don't remember it, because if you remember, a lot of us do come back remembering. That's the beauty. That's why some kids have the ability to do what? They can play Chopin. They can play Mozart at 5 years of age. Why is it that they can play Mozart at 5 years of age? Because they've come here already knowing with the contract that this is what it is that they wanted to do. They had the will to do that. So as you're saying, the things that you're looking for inside of, for what you're looking for as far as clarity, that's what you're looking for. You're looking for clarity. The main thing is clarity. Don't ever distrust the fact that you do have the ability to see clearly, if at some point you don't give in to fear, because that's what fear does to you. Fear causes you to circumvent your will. You do have the will to overcome any and everything, and your what you are and who you are is already encoded in every cell in your body. The challenges you face are the challenges you already know you have the ability to overcome. So never think that any challenge that is facing you is something you can't overcome, because you brought yourself to that moment. Your thought process brought you to that moment in order for you to deal with whatever it is that was inside of you that needed to be expressed, that needed to be challenged, that needed to be tested.
Indeed.
So go forward from there, and go forward with courage, but with caution, and to make sure that whatever it is that you're doing righteously. Okay? Righteously.
I'm loving this. I'm loving this, Doc. Next question, because I know we pressed with time. They say Bobby said one time, every nigga, he said every nigga is a star. I
Every
know
naga.
that. Yeah, every nigga. I know that when you talk about Baphomet, there's a symbol of an inverted pentagram. And I was thinking, if every man is a star, every woman, man, whatever is a star.
Mhm.
If we're inverted, if we're upside down, that's a yoga pose when you're inverted. And they actually consider that to be very beneficial when you're upside down. So if the human star is upside down, Dr. Valentine, what's happening, Doc? Because that's something that 98% of humanity, we're not upside down, but there's a certain aspect. I know there's certain coaches that they sleep in an inverted way, and there's certain people that practice inversion. So talk to me about inversion and the impact on consciousness of
Mhm.
humanity.
Well, inversion therapy is to put you back in the womb,
Put you back in.
because
Wow.
essentially, when you were first
Wow.
born, as you were exiting, you exited upside down.
Upside. Wow.
You see, and what that does, it puts you into that state of rebirth, so
Mm.
that when you're doing that, you notice that if you look at the five-pointed star, head,
Mm-hmm.
legs, and that's what they deal
Yeah.
with Allah, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you're dealing with that, you convert that, you invert that. That's in the ancient time, that's the representative of the fall of man.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Okay, so what we do is we fall and we rise, we fall and we rise. And what we do is we mimic that in yoga positions in order to show that when we do stand right back up again, we always assume that position in our minds, that we will always come out right side up.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as inversion therapy, it's good because the oxygen in the air and what do you call it, that usually, because we're standing most of our lives at that point and that point, what you do is you bring that blood back into your brain, and you have to do it
Mm-hmm.
slowly. Don't do it all at once. You're bringing a certain amount of blood that is only pretty much, doesn't really reach the pinnacle in your head. That's why if I could turn this around, you'd see that I have a teeter totter,
Mm-hmm.
and I go on my teeter totter every now and then when I want to, wake up some brain cells in my head. But inversion essentially is a way for you to look at your circumstance as well. Say, as you come into a bad situation, how would you invert that situation? That exercise is to show you how you can invert a situation from bad to good.
Mm-hmm.
What is the good part of something that you see, that you're facing, that you're going through? How do you invert that moment so that it comes up a positive energy? You don't want to invert the bad energy. You want to make sure that you maintain it and sustain it. But when you are upside down and you have to look at a perspective of the world from a whole other perspective, okay, and that's what your name of your thing is, perspective. What is the quantum perspective of
Quantum
God?
perspectives. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Your perspectives essentially, sometimes when you're challenged and the challenge seems insurmountable, your perspectives begin to go back into your brain. How do I deal with this? How do I deal with it?
Right. 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 Right.
But we're dealing with it based upon solutions of standing right side up. The solution is actually, how do you invert the situation in that? How do you go completely opposite to what it is that's facing you, so that you come out on top and everything comes out as peace, instead of
Mm.
you instigating and accelerate and what's that accelerating or escalating
That's
the
good. Okay.
situation into something that worsens it.
Mm-hmm.
So I like your approach to inversion. That inversion is always to look at the opposite of everything, because it's the opposite essentially that's trying to show you what it is. If a challenge comes, then the opposite, which is the solution to that, comes. When you ask the impeccable question, since the universe is the total answer and is always will be the answer,
Mm-hmm.
once you, as the avatar, ask the impeccable question, then the impeccable value and the
Mm.
impeccable nature of the universe will always answer you.
Wow. Doc, I'm gonna tell you, Doc, man, I'm happy we had this show tonight.
Yeah, yeah.
Amazing show. I mean, amazing show. Oh man, Doc, leave you.
Yeah,
I can't wait for you to do this workshop.
yeah.
I want to make sure we have do a show, but right before the workshop.
Yes.
But let the people know I got all of Dr. Valentine's information in the description of this video, by the way. So if you want to know anything he's talking about, a lot of it is in the description. But I want to allow you, before we end, Doc, let the people know one more time how they can reach you and anything you got coming up, Doc.
Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation.
Yes, sir.
It was Billy, and Billy and I felt really comfortable with a kindred spirit with you and he, and I feel really good when I can stretch. Only my wife and I can talk this way, but very out of the realm when you could talk with other brothers and sisters about this situation. I will tell you that I will bring scientific information that is being suppressed about the flatted plane and what it is that the government is suppressing to not let you know what's going on. How it began with Pope Pius VII, and how it is that the Catholic Church is the one that edits all books that are actually distributed in Western civilization. All books that are distributed in the education system of Western civilization are first edited in the Vatican. So you have to understand that they have a Luciferian protocol that they're dealing with, but there's not the same Luciferian protocol that we deal with in the occult. It has to do with them taking down all edifices of truth. So I do promise that you will have verifiable proof, so that the people who actually laugh at you, talk about, oh, you're a flat earther and you must be crazy. Those who ridicule don't understand that in the next 10 years, this will be a matter of fact reality.
Wow.
It will be a matter of fact reality. And that is going to be, and that's what we're teaching. We're going to be teaching in the university, because when you go to the third level in our university, there we teach you all of the sciences of the so-called flatted planes. But if you want to get in contact with us for any of our services, 800-847-1291. If you want to deal with Novatech, if you want to deal with, which is a Black-owned trading platform that deals with Forex and cryptocurrencies and so forth, you can get in contact with Brother Reggie. I think his number is 415-756 5676. That's 415-756-5676. If you want to deal with the Juice Plus, which I recommend highly, because you brought up a very important point about the nutrition that we don't get anymore. This concentrated nutrition that is actually grown on family farms. The Juice Plus is not grown on factory farms. It's all from family farms around the world. All organic, higher than the organic. It's actually NFS, National Safety, NSF, National Safety Foundation, which is higher than any of the organics that the FDA gives you. And you can talk to Nanette. That's my daughter-in-law. Her name is Nanette, and it's 404-543-3245. Call her, but please do not harass her. Please call her, or best yet, text her and tell her that you're interested in dealing with it. 404-543-3245. And once again, I want you to support Brother Rich. That goes without saying. This brother is a legend in what it is that he has been able to do to keep this information fluid, because it was stymied for a while. It was you and Brother Black Dot. Black Dot opened up the faucet once again once he invited me to the platform, and that was like decades ago. You kept it flowing in the directions like the Euphrates River, that 4 rivers that came from the center of our earth that flowed outward. You're the one that's guiding that information out to all our brothers and sisters around the flatted plain, and I commend you with that. And lastly, if you feel like you'd like to give us a little gift, we have a PayPal. That's Kemet Earth, Kemet, and that's Earth, EARTH, at gmail.com. KemetEarth@gmail.com. Pennies, dollars, whatever. We appreciate all of it, my wife and I. And with that, Brother Rich, thank you so much for this experience. It's been a blast for me. I'm going to go of certain things that they want to remember. Please remember that this is going to be a long session. Don't eat too much. Try to get some rest the day before and the night before. And there will be breaks, music breaks, for you to run, go to the bathroom, and so forth. But this is going to be a very intense, because as we close out the 2023, going into 2024 in the election year, there's going to be a lot of shutdowns of access to certain information.
For the webinar, make sure everybody know what's going on. Make sure everybody's on the same page, the same frequency. It's going down this Sunday, family. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. If you're just coming in the room, make sure you sign up for this Sunday's webinar. We're just going to have a light segment today on the news or the distractions that's been going on, and get Dr. Valentine's metaphysical lens on what he sees taking place, if there is a metaphysical lens, and tell us about what's really going on that they may be covering up. So there's a couple of stories happening in the news. To start out with, you're known for your metaphysical teachings, Doc, and something happened with the Schumann resonance that nobody has never seen before, and it happened on Father's Day, where the Schumann resonance made what looked like cymatic images, like you know what cymatics is, and people were everybody's absolutely astonished by what happened and what took place. So gotta ask you to start out with that, Doc. What happened with the Schumann resonance on Father's Day? What's that about?
Well, if they had cymatic signatures, it means that there are certain cleansing brushes. The cymatics are to match or to counter the cymatics of polluted thought that's in the atmosphere. You have to understand that the greatest pollution in our atmosphere right now ain't got nothing to do with gas. It ain't got nothing to do with high carbon or nothing. It's thought. Thought is the greatest pollution right now. And people don't understand that nature is reacting to that. And what I did was I went back, because it was in like 1994 when I addressed the Schumann resonance. So I had my old book with my Schumann resonance information here.
Amazing. You still got it.
Yeah. So amazing. I did the notes that I had spoken about those many decades ago. So I'll give you a real quick down. It was actually named after a guy named Winifred Schumann. And he discovered these particular patterns in the atmosphere, these frequency patterns that essentially went into peaks and valleys. And he found a resonance. They call it the Schumann resonance, but here's what I call it. These are the peaks and valleys of the ELF, which is extremely low frequencies of the Earth's electromagnetic spectrum. I called it the changing temperaments of the feminine aspect of God, when the electrical spirals actually create the feminine. So what's happening, and you're going to see what's going to be happening when say when you see a lightning bolt, when the lightning bolt strikes, right after the strike of the lightning bolt, a resonant magnetic field is created. Okay, so what I tell people that some say, and I want to say what I have here. Some say that the Earth is like a giant electrical circuit. Indeed, Tesla called it the flux of the electromagnetic field generated by the sun and the moon. We are inside the dome, and the dome is acting like a gigantic cyclotron. They essentially invented a type of back to the future flux machine, I just found out, one that can control the directional movement of microwave signals. So a lot of our thought patterns are in the microwave spectrum, depending on how high and how resonant and how what we call sublime and subtle they are. Now, the dome, listen carefully, the dome is charged by our metallic-like compressed hydrogen and helium and nitrogen dome, which reionizes the atmosphere. This happens when the saturation of human consciousness conflicts with the Earth Mother and Father Spirit's marriage in matter. Right now, the end time cycle for our present consciousness time zone is in effect, and the distorted consciousness signatures have psychospiritually polluted the atmosphere, causing the activation of corrective measures seen in the high frequency activation of fail-safe measures by divine intelligence in the form of what we see expressed in the fluctuations of matter called the Schumann resonance. So human thought and the activations of human thought actually affect the Schumann resonance, because if human thought is unbalanced or goes all the way to one direction, and it pollutes the atmosphere to the point where the atmosphere begins to react, as we see happening today with all the explosions of nuclear weapons, the killing, all the sacrificing, the bloodletting. Once we see that begin to happen, then nature automatically takes over, because everything that's happening is happening on the consciousness levels, on the higher frequency levels of consciousness. So the dome reacts to actually cleanse the atmosphere. This is why you're going to see a lot of storms. The storms that you're going to see, hurricanes, cyclones, all of these things are going to start happening, because right now, pivoting off of the dome, what we have, and you're going to see me, I'm going to be talking about this in the program. You're going to start seeing sprites, things that they call sprites, which are stratospheric, mesospheric, up to 60 to 80 miles, and they're caused by intense thunderstorms and electrification of the atmosphere. Every time there's pollution in the atmosphere, pollution at the highest level, which is a thought of resonance signatures and sequences and frequencies in the collective human consciousness. Whenever the collective human consciousness goes completely skewed, as it is now, when the female and the male are imbalanced, there is a corrective measure by nature. We'll see that happening now. That's why the turbulence that's caused by, say, men wanting to be women, women wanting to be men, and then they are changing the resonant frequencies of their activity. A woman does not act masculine and is forced to act masculine. She's taken outside of the balance of what she's supposed to be in nature. When a man now wants to cut off his vitals and he wants to act like a woman, then what his presence now becomes an anathema. It becomes a what you may call a not a virus, but a agitation to the frequencies, an imbalance to the frequencies. So right now, the Schumann resonance is giving you peaks and deep valleys, peaks and deep valleys. And they say it happened on Father's Day, which is a very good day for it to happen, because the mother and the father, the marriage between those two has become unbalanced. And you see that happening now, because the female energy, which essentially not the highest female energy, when it dovetails over into the masculine, it is now under the pairing, whereas the mother-father consciousness that balances us, the imbalance is the Astaroth. Now, the Astaroth energy is a hermaphrodite energy. There is a male Astaroth, which they call the devil of the, I forgot what he was called, but he's called the devil of something. I get the devil of hell, or the something of hell. But the female now, when you look at Aster or Astarte or the star, you're looking at the feminine energy, Roth. Roth means red. Okay, so you're dealing with a red-headed demon, female, who essentially now has a priesthood of Astaroth. You saw Beyonce take on in her present musical tour. She is acting as Astaroth. And
Beyonce?
Yes. Look at her dress. Look at her clothing, and look at what she is. They had her on a pedestal, looking like a goddess, with the stars coming out of her, what do you call it, a head, looking just like the demon Astaroth. And Astaroth has a priesthood of men who essentially dress like women, castrate themselves to be like women. Where are you seeing that information right now? Where are you seeing that happen right now? Okay? So the Astaroth energy, which is the masculine energy, because he's a demon, he's another demon, but he has a feminine side, which makes him hermaphroditic. Okay? Makes the two of them hermaphroditic. So you have this end time demon as the harbinger of the new time to come that's being destroyed. Because these entities only come to prominence when a paradigm is getting ready to be shut down in consciousness.
This is some interesting stuff, Doc.
I'm
Wow.
hoping that people get prepared for it, because this is what I've been taught. Well, I'm just going back since 1994, 95 to try to bring this. I'm just bringing all the old information to the front right now. But you got to remember, right now, there is a demonic energy that's being fed into our young people at this time. That's why they're so heavy to bring us down and go after the children, because that's what she does. Astaroth, the feminine, the female demon, she goes after your children. Okay, and she is the one who is the sacrificer of the children, because she's barren. She is when the so-called Adam and Eve situation came about, Lilith was the first wife of Adam, but she wasn't going to submit to him. Okay, so she became the other side, the shadow of Eve, that part of Eve that can come forward if Eve does not stay within the assigned resonance that keeps the feminine principle in balance. She's out of it now, and Astaroth has taken over. And if you don't see that in everything that you're looking at today, the way that things are topsy-turvy, the way that things are completely twisted, and we're going to go into it. We're going to go into it in deep depth on Sunday.
Wow.
But just understand, we are in a change. And everything that you see with the Schumann resonance is the reaction of Nature Mother and Spirit Father. Because that wedding, that marriage that's supposed to be representative of God on earth is now completely gone. That balance is gone. And you're going to see the rectifying frequencies begin to attack directly off of the dome. And I'm going to show you how the electricity, you're going to see electricity coming off the dome.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Damn. Oh, man. Wow. Whew. I'm ready for Sunday, Doc. I'm ready for Sunday. Once again, family, the link is pinned in the top of the chat. Doc's going to be going on for about 10 hours. It's going to be an amazing webinar. I can't wait to hear the information that he presents to us on these topics. And I advise everybody to sign up. So make sure y'all click on that link pinned at the top of the chat. Also, like I said, if you're coming in late, we're just going over. We're not going to be on here long tonight. I just wanted to talk to Doc, remind the people about the webinar and ask him about some of the current news that's out right now. We do that every so often when we talk about the news and just try to see what's really going on. And I'm glad I asked him about the Schumann resonance, because I didn't hear anybody say what Doc just said. So I'm glad that I asked the brother about that. What I want to ask you about now, Doc, is prior to about 5, 6, 7 months ago, I never heard of a guy named Andrew Tate. Never heard of him. Yeah. Then I just started hearing his name everywhere. Yeah. And about how the Matrix is attacking him. He got banned. And I said, why is he banned? What the hell is he doing to get banned from everywhere? They banned the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. I think they banned Trump. They banned Tate. I think Alex Jones got banned.
Have you noticed?
Yeah.
Have you noticed who's being banned?
Men. Yeah.
It's Astaroth. She's at work.
So you saying that? Hold on. So that's the
representation. The attack is using feminized males, because most of the people in Congress are pedophiles. And they worship at the altar of this particular type of demon. There are a few others that they deal with. They call them satanic. Yeah. But each demon has a frequency that you resonate to.
Right.
And you call upon that based upon the actions necessary to give that particular demon or feed that demon. And it's not really a demon outside of ourselves, it's the demon within. And if you have any inkling, any weakness towards that, you will find yourself doing the things to feed whatever that energy is. The same way that I say that when they said God made man, we made God. You see, in his image and likeness. And so whatever it is that we now, at the last stages of a particular consciousness cycle, that comes to end. And like I said many times before, and the sisters hated me, at the end of every consciousness cycle and a consciousness paradigm, the destructive female energy, because she is the matter principle, she is always prominent in it. Kali, Sekhmet, Ashtar.
Mm.
All of them are the destructors. And
Mm.
our ancestors from the longest period of time ago used to put them up as the ones that actually look at Kali. She's got the swords and the skulls of men
Mm-hmm.
because she's saying, okay, it's time for a change. It's a rebirth coming.
Mm-hmm.
This time, this thing has died. And if this particular energy is what you call a super senior energy, wow, is it going to be heavy when the time changes, when the actual crucible comes to change? And women know what it's like if they've had birth, what it's like to go through that particular cycle.
Mm-hmm.
They have to go through another frame of mind. They switch into a whole other consciousness when that pain comes, when that baby is coming. And that's exactly what's happening. The baby is coming.
Wow. So this entity,
Mm-hmm.
people that speak like Tate, you're saying this entity doesn't like people who
No, the masculine principle is under attack because it's the end time. And we represent a time that is not today. Remember, I told you I don't live today. I'm only here. I'm only visiting here from another tomorrow. I've said that so many times. I'm only visiting here from a tomorrow that I was to help you prepare for. That's what you're here for. You're here to prepare them for tomorrow that does not go along this consciousness timeline. You are deviating from a path of destruction. You're telling them there's another way. There is another way. The musicians like Jimi Hendrix, he's trying to tell you, I don't live today. That's where I took that from. He said, I don't live today. I'm only visiting from another tomorrow.
From another tomorrow.
From a whole other tomorrow, from the one that you think you're headed to. And I'm trying to tell you there's a detour around this. You may not survive it physically, but when you have fixed your radar, when you have fixed your attention on the destination that you're supposed to occupy, the place you're supposed to occupy in thought, word, and deed, then your soul already has changed its metric, has changed its direction. And once that happens, you're going to see that you're going to end up coming back, if you do wish to come back, coming back already pre-prepared as a child, knowing immediately what you have to do, no matter what your trials are.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. That's why this you started out real interested. This, I mean, what literature is this in? This entity that you speak. What literature?
You got to go into the Hebrew. Remember, they took a lot from out of the they took a lot from out of the they took a lot from out of the ancient Kemites. And what you're looking at when you say Astaroth, you have to look at the Kabbalah.
Okay, the Kabbalah. All right. And what about another news story that a lot of people are talking about, and I've heard you told the story of the Titanic years ago.
Yes.
To let people know what really happened. Is there any similarities do you feel between the conspiracy behind the original Titanic and what took place with the recent billionaires that recently died? Were they taken out on purpose?
Yeah. We're supposed to believe that they went down there looking for whatever. I don't know what they're going down there and messing around with, but I believe that I think that this is a way that whoever it was down there, they backed out. They needed to die in order to get away from something. I'm not sure what it was that they had to die from, but I do know that, why are we caring about multi-billionaires going down in a dirigible to do what? I don't really give a rat's ass what happens to them. They shouldn't be in the water like that anyway. They need to stay out of there. That ain't their home. Leave well enough alone. You know what I'm saying? That's just like the old adage. When black people go into a haunted house, white people say they hear spooky things. They say, I wonder what that is. Let's go check it out. Black people goes in and hears that same sound. He says, yo, I'm out. I'm
out. Yeah. Out.
Because we understand the spiritual realm. You see. And so I don't really care about people who want to go down in dirigibles, because that is telling me that the news wants me to look over there and they're getting ready to do some shit over here. See, and I'm I stopped looking at what it is they want me to look at, and look at the things that they don't want me to look at. Like
Right.
when I said, remember when I said about 25 years ago that everybody needs to study Lucifer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, did I get it from the church?
Mm. Mm.
And I was telling them, I said, well, you know, Jesus and Lucifer are the same. Lucifer redeemed us from the garden,
Mm.
and Jesus came back and redeemed us from the earth, from our sins.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of them are redeemers.
Right. Right.
So which one is which? Because even Jesus said, I'm Lucifer in Revelations 20, I think it's 22 and 16.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They're both the what, the morning star or
Yeah, they're
something like
both
that?
the light of the world.
Yeah.
Jesus said he's the light of the world. Lucifer is the light of the morning.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and the thing is, Europeans right now are now opening up to the fact that Christianity needs a little bit of scrutiny, because with the amount of intellectual growth about the reality of what we're in, listening to the stories that our ancestors put together as lesson plans for us, it's for us to decipher, not for us to just believe. You see, so I've been doing this for the last nearly 40 years, trying to decipher what that book really meant. And if you understood the book, you would understand it's a book of science. It's just that we spoke on scientific things differently than the white man.
Right, right.
The white man complicates things by trying to micromanage everything. We essentially, as I said, we didn't deal with impositional analysis. The white man deals with impositional analysis, which means he imposes his will upon what he studies. This is what I see. This is what it must be. But the scientists that were our ancestors, they dealt with intuitional analysis. So intuitional analysis is, well, we will wait for the thing to identify itself to us.
Right, right, right.
We will approach nature with courtesy. We're not going to bulldoze our way into it. He's learning now because he understands now more, because he's been studying Eastern philosophy. He's been studying, or where is he going back every time you look at him on TikTok? He over there with black. He's trying to find out more and more. Where does he do most of his digging? In Africa, in South America. I don't see him digging up in Europe. Ain't nothing up there. His entire past is in Africa and in South America and in Upper Asia, everywhere where he ain't. And remember, I said that when I did Brother Tariq Nasheed's documentary. The digger the white man digs, the deeper the white man digs for evidence of his past, the blacker the planet gets.
And you also said, speaking of Lucifer, it's connected to the phosphorus. And
the luciferus.
Yeah.
The phosphorus, and that's in the sperm.
That's in the sperm.
Yeah, that's the one that triggers the atomic reaction when it goes through the zona pellucida of the egg. When it burrows its way down into the zona pellucida, which is the covering on the egg, it burrows its way through. Now, there's millions of them attacking the egg. The egg knows which one to let through. You got to see this. This is deep. Because this is how you, as the father, selects and opens the portal for the next person that's supposed to be in your lineage to come through. And depending on what you, as the father, are feeling at that moment, your emotional body is what creates the sex of the child. So if you are more into feelings, because there's two dynamics running through you as electric and magnetic. There's feelings and desire. Desire is electric, feelings is magnetic. If you are holding on to a more magnetic energy, you're going to have a little girl. If you're more in dynamic, if you're in your rage time, you're going out there and you hustling and you banging and what do you call it? You're more in your desire energy. And that desire energy builds up and then it begins to charge the sperm in accordance with that. And most people were laughing at me at that time. They laughed at me when I told them that there's an atomic explosion that happens in the middle of the egg once that sperm goes down, and there's a fusion reaction in the middle of that sperm. Of the egg. As it blows, there is an action that the European doctors say was phosphorus, and it's a phosphorus a phosgene explosion. Their microscopes have gotten powerful enough to now see what it is that the occult people knew.
Right.
That explosion is the gateway opening up from Amenti, where the soul is traveling back.
Whew. Shit.
Back into the life. And then the soul now coming back becomes Osiris or As or Asa. Asa has two ways he died. He was killed by his brother Set, right? And was cut up into 16 pieces. But then the other story of Asa was that he was drowned by Set. But that was just an analogy speaking about you coming back into the waters of your mother. Because the physical body, the spiritual body dies in the physical body. And that's what the crucifix was about. The man on the cross is that the soul of man dies on the third dimension of matter.
Whew. Damn. You cold with this, Doc. You cold-blooded with this, man.
We teach this in our university.
You
All
cold.
our students know about this.
You cold-blooded with this. Damn, that's wow. Okay. Wow. That's what the cross is about, huh?
And you wore that in ancient Kemet after you went through the life and death cycle and resurrection. Because you had to die once you to be actually initiated in the ancient of times. You had to die. That's where you see the brothers doing voodoo in Haiti. And they used to put used to drink this and then turn them into zombies. They'd be live. They can't move. That's from the ancient Kemites. What happened is after you went through the crucible, you had to crawl down into a place where you can barely fit down underground. And if you didn't have the stomach to keep going and to push yourself through, that's why you see the Kemites were so skinny. You ever see a fat Kemite on the wall?
No.
Because essentially, when they went through that initiation process, they had to go through some deep and dig it. There was one part where he would initiate, because we teach this in our university at the third degree. When you get through and you pull yourself through, you open up into this deep cavern that has a very tiny light that Herodotus was talking about. And over in the corner, you see a small bridge over a gigantic hole. And when you walk through that hole and you cross that bridge, you have to kind of balance your way across the bridge. You get to the other side, all of a sudden there's somebody there that welcomes you into a place where there is the sweetest smelling perfumes. You see a beautiful thing. And then they got a half-naked woman sitting on the bed. And she's a gorgeous woman. And if you give any attention to her, there's a dude with a scimitar right there to clop your head off.
Wow.
If you're strong enough to deal with that temptation, it opens up, and then another initiate ushers you into a hall where there are 22 pictures, which are the what became the tarot. And he explains each one of them. That's how they kept the secrets alive when they were invaded.
Oh, okay.
It's a hall, and there was 22 different pictures that represented the book of life, the book of Jehudi.
Right. Wow. Okay, Doc. See, man, y'all better be ready for Sunday, man. Doc know his info, man. Let me put the flyer on the screen one more time.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know we was going there tonight, Doc. I thought it was going to be simple and.
Well, right now it is simple, King, because I tell you, if I could get you into our classes, it'd be so great. You understand exactly what I'm talking about. As a matter of fact, this would be old news for you. You would be teaching.
Excellent. Once again, family, it's happening this